Welcome to Calm Mind English. Some days, you know exactly what you want to change. You know the habit you want to stop, the routine you want to build, and the kind of person you want to become. But when the moment comes, your body moves toward the easier choice. You sit down for a minute, open your phone for a second, or tell yourself you will start tomorrow. This can feel confusing. From the outside, it looks simple. You had a plan, and you did not follow it. But inside, it does not feel simple. It feels like something quiet pulls you back to the same place, even when another part of you truly wants to move forward. This is why many people start to blame themselves. They think they are lazy. They think they have no discipline. They think they are not serious enough about their own life. But the truth is often more subtle. Comfort is not always pleasure. Sometimes comfort is just the familiar shape of your day. It is the couch after work. It is the screen before sleep. It is the snack you did not really want. It is the same small escape you keep choosing because it asks nothing from you. You may not even enjoy it that much. You may scroll and feel empty. You may rest and still feel tired. You may avoid the task and still feel pressure in the back of your mind. But you choose it because it feels known. And to the brain, known often feels safe. Think about a normal evening. You come home after a long day. Maybe you plan to exercise, study, clean your room, write something, or work on a personal goal. At first, the plan still exists. It is clear in your mind. You know what you said you would do. But your body feels heavy. Your attention feels scattered. Your mind says, just sit down first. So you sit. You tell yourself it is only for a few minutes. There is nothing wrong with resting for a few minutes. Then your phone is in your hand. One video becomes another. A short break becomes half an hour. Half an hour becomes the whole evening. At some point, you notice the time. You feel that small drop inside your chest. The day is almost gone. Now, the task feels even harder than before. Starting feels late. Your energy is lower. Your mind begins to look for reasons to stop trying today. It says today was already tiring. It says you can do it properly tomorrow. It says there's no point starting now. So you stay where you are. Not because you do not care, but because the easy path has become even easier with every minute. This is how comfort works. It does not always arrive as a big decision. It often arrives as a small delay. A delay feels harmless because it does not say no. It only says later. Later sounds gentle. Later sounds reasonable. Later sounds like you are still in control. But repeated later slowly becomes a pattern. And after a while, the pattern starts to feel like your personality. You may say, I always do this. I always quit. I always waste time. I always choose the easy thing. But what you are seeing is not your whole identity. You are seeing a repeated loop that your brain has learned to protect. The loop usually begins with discomfort. A task asks you to face something uncertain. Exercise asks your body to move when it wants to stay still. Studying asks your mind to focus when it wants quick stimulation. Cleaning asks you to begin when the space already feels overwhelming. A new routine asks you to become someone slightly different. That sounds positive, but to the brain it can also feel risky. The familiar routine has one major advantage. You already know how it feels. You know what it feels like to delay. You know what it feels like to scroll. You know what it feels like to avoid something until tomorrow. It may not feel good, but it feels predictable. The brain likes predictable things because predictable things require less energy. Change is different. Even good change carries a small unknown. You may wonder if you can keep it going. You may wonder if you will fail again. You may wonder if the effort will be worth it. So comfort becomes a quiet shelter. It protects you from the first uncomfortable step. But this shelter has a cost. It protects you from effort, but it also protects you from progress. That is why the choice can feel so painful afterward. In a moment, comfort feels like relief. Later, it feels like being stuck. This is one of the most difficult parts of self-discipline. The reward of comfort is immediate. The reward of change is delayed. When you choose the easy thing, your brain gets relief now. When you choose the meaningful thing, your life may improve later. The brain is very sensitive to now. It responds quickly to what removes discomfort in the present moment. That is why you can want change deeply and still choose comfort repeatedly. Desire lives in the future. Comfort speaks to the present. Desire says, I want a better life. Comfort says, I can make this moment easier. And when you are tired, stressed, lonely, bored, or uncertain, the voice of comfort becomes stronger. This does not mean you're powerless. It means you need to understand the moment more honestly. Most people try to fight comfort with pressure. They say, I should be stronger. I should stop being like this. I should force myself. But pressure often creates more discomfort. And when discomfort rises, the brain looks for comfort again. So the answer is not only to push harder. The answer begins with seeing the loop clearly. When you sit down after work and reach for your phone, pause for 1 second and name what is happening. You do not have to shame yourself. You can simply notice, my brain is choosing something familiar. This one sentence changes the meaning of the moment. Instead of saying, I am lazy, you are saying, my brain is looking for safety. That does not excuse every choice. It gives you a better place to start. Because if the real problem is safety, then the solution is not self-attack. The solution is to make change feel safer, smaller, and more possible. Maybe exercising for 1 hour feels too big, but putting on your shoes feels possible. Maybe studying for 2 hours feels too heavy, but opening the book and reading 1 paragraph feels possible. Maybe cleaning the whole room feels overwhelming, but picking up 5 things feels possible. A small action may seem too simple, but it has a deeper purpose. It teaches the brain that change does not have to be dangerous. It teaches the body that effort can begin without panic. It teaches the mind that a new pattern can be survived. This is how self-discipline starts in real life. Not with a perfect plan, but with one small moment where you choose the unfamiliar action before the familiar escape. You are not trying to destroy comfort. Comfort has a place. Rest has a place. Quiet has a place. But comfort should not become the place where your future disappears. You can rest without abandoning yourself. You can move slowly without staying stuck. You can choose one meaningful action before the old routine takes over. Tonight, if you notice yourself reaching for the same escape, do not begin with anger. Begin with awareness. Look at the moment gently, but clearly. Something in you wants relief. Something in you also wants change. The work is not to hate the part that wants comfort. The work is to guide it. Because the part of you that keeps choosing comfort may not be weak. It may simply be afraid of what is unfamiliar. And once you understand that, discipline becomes less like a battle and more like a quiet practice of trust. You take one small step, your brain sees that nothing terrible happens. Then the next step becomes a little less threatening. This is how change begins to feel possible. Not all at once, not through force, but through repeated small proof that you can leave the familiar place and still be safe. You may think the problem is discipline. You may look at yourself and say, I know what I need to do, but I still do not do it. That thought can feel heavy because it turns a daily pattern into a personal weakness. But many times, the deeper cause is not a lack of character. It is a quiet misunderstanding inside the brain. Your mind often confuses familiar with safe. This is why change can feel strangely threatening, even when the change is good. A new habit may be healthy. A new schedule may be better. A new decision may move your life forward. But if it is unfamiliar, your brain may treat it like risk. The brain does not only ask, is this good for me? It also asks, do I know this? Have I survived this before? Can I predict what will happen next? Comfort answers those questions quickly. The same couch, the same phone, the same snack, the same delay, the same excuse. Your mind recognizes the pattern and relaxes, even if the pattern is not helping your life. This is why familiar discomfort can feel easier than unfamiliar progress. Staying the same may hurt, but at least the pain is known. Trying something new may help, but the result is uncertain. Imagine someone who wants to become healthier. They plan to go for a walk after dinner. It is not a difficult plan. No special equipment is needed. No perfect mood is required. Just shoes, a jacket, and a few minutes outside. But after dinner, the body feels warm and heavy. The house is quiet. The phone is nearby. The first thought comes in gently. I will rest for 10 minutes first. 10 minutes becomes 30. The walk disappears without a clear decision. Nothing dramatic happened. No one failed in a loud way. The familiar routine simply won because it asked for less uncertainty. This is where self-discipline becomes confusing. From the outside, it looks like the person chose laziness. But inside, the brain chose the known state. It chose the pattern it could understand. Change asks the brain to spend attention. It asks the body to leave a predictable rhythm. It creates a small gap between where you are and what you're used to. That gap can feel uncomfortable before it feels meaningful. Many people misunderstand this discomfort. They think, maybe this means I'm not ready. Maybe this is not the right time. Maybe I should wait until I feel more motivated. But discomfort does not always mean danger. Often, it simply means your brain has not learned that this new action is safe yet. Think about the first day at a new job. Even if the job is good, your mind may feel alert. You do not know the faces, the timing, the small rules, or the rhythm of the place. Nothing may be wrong, but your body still works harder because everything is new. After a few weeks, the same place feels easier. The building did not become safer in a physical sense. Your brain simply learned the pattern. What was once unfamiliar became normal. Self-discipline works in a similar way. The first version of a better habit may feel tense because your brain has no memory of succeeding with it. It has not yet connected that action with safety, relief, or identity. So when you choose comfort, it does not always mean you do not care. Sometimes it means your brain is returning to the path with the most evidence. The old path has history. The new path has only possibility. This is why forcing yourself with harsh words often does not work for long. Shame makes the nervous system feel more threatened. When the brain feels threatened, it wants even more comfort. Then the person escapes again and feels worse afterward. The loop becomes simple. You want change. The change feels unfamiliar. The unfamiliar feeling creates tension. Comfort reduces the tension. Then you blame yourself for choosing comfort. The blame creates more tension, and the brain looks for comfort again. To break this loop, you need a different understanding. You are not trying to defeat your brain. You're trying to teach it. You teach it through small, repeated experiences. You show your mind that a new action can be safe. You prove it with ordinary evidence, not with pressure. For example, you do not need to begin with a perfect 2-hour routine. You can begin with 5 minutes of focused work, then stop. You can begin with 1 page, 1 clean corner, 1 short walk. 1 simple message, 1 honest decision. The size matters because the brain watches the emotional cost. If the first step feels too large, your mind may treat it like a threat. If the first step is small enough to begin, your brain has a chance to collect new evidence. The goal is not to make change feel exciting every time. Excitement is unstable. The goal is to make change feel familiar enough that your brain stops fighting it. This is a quieter form of discipline. It does not depend on a dramatic mood. It depends on repetition that slowly changes what your mind recognizes as normal. One day, the walk after dinner is no longer a battle. Opening the notebook is no longer a heavy decision. Leaving the phone across the room no longer feels strange. The new action becomes part of the environment of your life. At that point, comfort changes its shape. Comfort is no longer only the old escape. Comfort can become the feeling of keeping a small promise. It can become the peace that comes after doing the thing you almost avoided. This is why your brain needs patience, but not endless permission. Patience means you understand the mechanism. Permission means you let the old pattern continue without limit. You can be patient and still be firm. You can say, I understand why this feels difficult, and I am still going to take the first small step. That sentence changes the relationship. You're no longer attacking yourself. You're leading yourself through unfamiliar territory. The hidden cause of choosing comfort is not always weakness. It is often the brain protecting what it knows. But what the brain knows can change. Every repeated action becomes a signal. Every small completion becomes evidence. Every time you start before you feel ready, you teach your mind that progress is not a threat. And slowly, the unfamiliar life you want begins to feel less far away. It becomes a place your brain has visited before. Then choosing it becomes easier, not because you became a different person overnight, but because your mind finally recognizes the path. There's a reason comfort can feel so powerful when you're tired. Your brain is not only thinking about your goals, it is also reading your body. It is checking your energy, your stress, your hunger, your sleep, your past failures, and the pressure around you. When your body feels low on energy, the brain becomes careful. It does not want a complicated plan. It does not want a risky step. It wants the pattern that costs the least. This is why change can feel heavy even when the change is good. A new habit may be healthy. A new routine may be helpful. A new direction may be exactly what you need. But to the brain, new still means uncertain. Uncertain means extra work. Extra work means more attention, more decisions, and more energy. So the brain looks for something familiar. It looks for the couch, the phone, the snack, the same video, the same late-night routine, the same excuse. These things may not make your life better, but they feel predictable. Predictability calms the nervous system. That is one of the hidden reasons comfort wins. Comfort does not always win because it is pleasant. Sometimes it wins because it is known. Think about a person who wants to study after work. They come home with a serious plan. They tell themselves they will eat dinner, sit down, and study for 1 hour. The plan is clear. The goal matters. But the body has already been working all day. The eyes are tired. The shoulders are tight. The mind has answered too many messages. The person has made too many small decisions, even if they did not notice them. So when they sit down, the brain does a quick calculation. Studying means effort. Studying means facing what they do not know yet. Studying means staying with discomfort long enough to learn. The phone means instant ease. The phone is not a better choice for the future. It is simply easier for the nervous system right now. This is why self-discipline becomes harder when the body is exhausted. Discipline is not only a mental idea. It also depends on physical capacity. When sleep is poor, the brain wants faster rewards. When stress is high, the brain wants familiar relief. When the body is tense, the brain wants escape before growth. This does not mean you have no control. It means your control needs support. You cannot keep asking a tired body to make perfect choices with no structure, no rest, and no preparation. The brain likes safety, and safety often feels like repetition. Even a painful routine can feel safer than a new routine because the old routine has already been survived. The brain knows what happens there. It knows the rhythm. It knows the emotional cost. A new routine asks the brain to trust something it has not tested yet. This is why the first step of change often feels strangely uncomfortable. You are not only changing an action, you're teaching your nervous system that a new action can be safe. At first, the body may resist. You may feel restless when you sit down to focus. You may feel irritated when you do not check your phone. You may feel heavy when you try to exercise. You may feel awkward when you start a better evening routine. These reactions do not always mean the new action is wrong. Sometimes they simply mean the body has not learned this pattern yet. The nervous system learns through repetition. It does not become calm because you explain your goal one time. It becomes calm when it experiences the new pattern again and again without danger. This is why small steps matter. A small step gives the brain less reason to panic. It lowers the threat level. It makes change feel less like a complete life transformation and more like a manageable movement. If you tell yourself, I must change my whole life tonight, your body may tighten. But if you say, I will do 10 minutes, the brain may accept it more easily. 10 minutes is not dramatic. It is not impressive from the outside, but it can be powerful because it begins to change the safety map inside your mind. The brain starts to learn, I can do this and still be okay. That sentence is important, not as a motivational phrase, but as a biological lesson. Each time you choose a small, meaningful action, your nervous system gathers evidence. It learns that effort does not always mean danger. It learns that discomfort does not always mean harm. It learns that a new pattern can also become familiar. Over time, the action that once felt difficult begins to feel normal. This is how discipline becomes less painful. Not because you become a different person overnight, but because the body stops treating the action as a threat. The same thing happens with physical training. The first time someone runs after a long break, the body may feel shocked. The breathing changes. The legs feel heavy. The mind wants to stop. The body says, this is too much. But after repeated practice, the same movement becomes less threatening. The body learns the rhythm. The muscles adapt. The breathing becomes steadier. The action did not change. The body's relationship with the action changed. Self-discipline works in a similar way. At first, focus feels unnatural. At first, waking up earlier feels uncomfortable. At first, saying no to easy comfort feels strange. At first, choosing the harder but better thing may feel like you are going against yourself. But after repetition, your system begins to recognize the pattern. The action becomes less foreign. It becomes less dramatic. It becomes something your body can enter without so much resistance. This is why forcing yourself with anger rarely works for long. Pressure can create movement for a short time. Shame can push you for a day or two. Fear can make you act quickly. But the nervous system does not build trust through constant threat. If every attempt at change feels like punishment, the brain will look for escape. It will return to comfort because comfort feels like relief from pressure. This is why harsh self-talk often creates the opposite result. When you attack yourself for choosing comfort, your stress rises. When stress rises, the brain looks for familiar relief. Then you may choose the same comfort again. The loop continues. A calmer approach is not weakness. It is more practical. You can be honest without being cruel. You can say, this pattern is hurting me, without saying, I am a failure. You can say, my body is tired, so I need a smaller step, without quitting completely. You can say, this action feels uncomfortable because it is new, without treating the discomfort as a stop sign. The goal is not to remove all discomfort. The goal is to make discomfort feel safe enough to enter. This is a different kind of self-discipline. It is not loud. It does not need to look intense. It works by repeating small actions until the nervous system no longer sees them as strange. Comfort will still call you. It may call you more strongly on hard days. It may appear when you are tired, lonely, bored, or overwhelmed. It may sound reasonable. It may say, just today, just a little. You can start tomorrow. But now you can understand what is happening. Your brain is trying to protect energy. Your body is looking for predictability. Your nervous system is choosing what feels known. This understanding gives you a little space. In that space, you do not need to fight your whole mind. You only need to choose one small action that teaches your system. A new kind of safety. Open the notebook for 5 minutes. Put the phone in another room for 10 minutes. Walk outside for a short time. Prepare tomorrow's clothes before bed. Sit at the desk even before you feel ready. These actions may look simple, but they send a signal. They tell the brain, this new direction is not dangerous. They tell the body, we can move through discomfort and remain steady. They tell the nervous system, this pattern can become familiar too. Comfort is not your enemy. It is a signal. It shows where your system is looking for safety. But your future also needs safety. Your goals need to become familiar. Your better routine needs to become ordinary. Your new life does not need to feel heroic every day. In fact, it becomes stronger when it starts to feel normal. That is why the real work is not to hate comfort. The real work is to slowly teach your brain that the life you want to also feel safe. Daniel does not think of himself as lazy. Most people would not call him lazy either. He wakes up, goes to work, answers messages, pays bills, takes care of small responsibilities, and moves through the day like a normal person. From the outside, nothing looks broken. But inside his day, there's a quiet pattern. It begins in the morning before he fully understands what he is doing. His alarm rings, and for a moment, he knows what he wanted to do. He wanted to get up early. He wanted to drink water, stretch for a few minutes, maybe read one page of a book before the day became noisy. The plan was simple the night before. It even felt realistic. But in the morning, the room feels cold, the blanket feels warm, and his phone is close enough to reach without moving his body. He tells himself he will only check one thing, one message, one notification, one quick look before starting. 10 minutes pass, then 20. By the time he gets out of bed, the morning has already changed shape. He is not completely late, but he is no longer calm. He moves faster than he wanted to. He skips the small things he planned. He tells himself it is fine because tomorrow will be different. Nothing dramatic happened. He only chose the easy first movement. But that first movement gave the day a direction. On the way to work, Daniel thinks about changing his routine. He feels tired of feeling behind before the day even begins. He imagines becoming more disciplined, more focused, more in control. The idea feels good while he is sitting on the bus or driving through traffic. In his mind, change feels clear. But when he arrives at work, the day begins to pull at him. A message needs an answer. A small problem appears. Someone asks him something before he is settled in. His attention breaks into pieces. By mid-morning, he reaches for coffee and opens a few websites. While telling himself he needs a short reset, he does not call avoidance. He calls a break. And sometimes it really is a break. The problem is not the coffee. The problem is not the 5 minutes. The problem is that his mind begins to learn where to go. Every time pressure appears, when a task feels slightly uncertain, he checks something easy. When a decision feels uncomfortable, he delays it. When his mind feels crowded, he looks for something familiar. The comfort is not always pleasure. Sometimes it is just a place where nothing is expected from him. At lunch, he thinks again about change. He looks at people who seem more organized. He wonders how they do it. He imagines that maybe they have a stronger personality or a clearer mind. He thinks they probably do not struggle with small choices the way he does. But he is only seeing the outside of their lives. He cannot see the systems they built. He cannot see the habits that removed choices before choices became heavy. He cannot see the small boundaries that make their better actions easier to repeat. Daniel sees their results and compares them with his private struggle. That comparison makes change feel even heavier. In the afternoon, he opens the task he has been avoiding. It is not impossible. It is just unclear. There are a few steps he does not fully understand, and that small uncertainty is enough to create tension in his body. His shoulders tighten a little. His breathing becomes shallow. His mind starts looking for another direction. He does not consciously say, "I want to escape this." The movement is quicker than language. His hand moves to the phone. His eyes move to a notification. His attention slips away before he has made a real decision. This is how comfort often wins. Not through one big decision, but through tiny escapes that happen before awareness catches up. After work, Daniel comes home tired. This is the part of the day where he most wants his life to change, and also the part where change feels the farthest away. He takes off his shoes, drops his bag, and stands for a moment in the quiet room. He planned to exercise lightly. He planned to prepare a simple meal. He planned to clean the desk for 10 minutes, so tomorrow would feel easier. But the couch is there. The phone is there. The easy food is there. The familiar routine is waiting without asking anything from him. He tells himself he needs rest first. And he is not wrong. His body does need rest. His mind does need space. But rest and escape can look very similar when you are exhausted. Real rest gives something back. Escape often takes more than it gives. Daniel sits down and starts watching something. At first, he feels relief. The pressure of the day fades a little. He does not need to make choices. He does not need to improve. He does not need to face the quiet disappointment he feels about himself. For a while, comfort works. This is why the loop is hard to break. Comfort is not useless. It gives real relief in the short term. It lowers the emotional noise. It makes the present moment feel less demanding. But slowly, the evening disappears. The exercise does not happen. The simple meal becomes whatever is fastest. The desk stays messy. The book stays closed. And near bedtime, Daniel feels the familiar heaviness return. Not because the whole day was terrible, but because he watched himself move away from the life he keeps saying he wants. That feeling is difficult to explain. It is not exactly guilt. It is not exactly sadness. It is more like losing trust with yourself in a quiet way. He did not betray his life in one dramatic moment. He just kept choosing what was easy, one small moment at a time. Before bed, Daniel decides tomorrow will be different. This promise gives him a small sense of control. He imagines a better morning, a cleaner desk, a stronger version of himself. He feels hopeful for a few minutes. But he does not change the room. He does not move the phone. He does not prepare the first step. He does not reduce the number of choices waiting for his tired mind. So tomorrow morning, the same environment will ask him the same question. Do you want the familiar comfort now, or the unfamiliar change later? And because his brain is tired, because the phone is close, because the blanket is warm, because the first step is still unclear, comfort will probably win again. This is not because Daniel has no discipline. It is because his day is designed in favor of the old pattern. His comfort loop has a structure. Morning starts with reaction. Work creates pressure. Pressure creates escape. Evening brings exhaustion. Exhaustion makes comfort feel necessary. Bedtime brings regret. Regret creates a promise. The promise is not supported by any real change, so the loop repeats. Many people live inside a version of this day. The details may be different. For one person, comfort is scrolling. For another, it is delaying an email. For another, it is eating without hunger, staying busy with low-value tasks, or waiting until they feel ready. But underneath the different habits, the pattern is similar. The mind moves toward what feels safe right now. The future self becomes someone who will handle the hard part later. Daniel's story matters because it shows that change does not usually fail at the level of desire. He wants change. He thinks about it often. He can imagine the benefits clearly. Change fails at the level of the next physical movement. Where's the phone? Where are the shoes? Where's the notebook? What happens in the first 10 seconds after discomfort appears? These small details sound too simple, but they decide more than we want to admit. A person can have a serious goal and still lose to a nearby distraction. A person can want a better life and still repeat the same evening. A person can understand the problem and still avoid the first uncomfortable action. Understanding alone does not always change behavior. The body still chooses what feels familiar. The room still guides attention. The tired mind still looks for the lowest effort path. Daniel does not need to hate himself for this, but he also cannot ignore it. The pattern will not disappear because he feels bad about it. It will change when the first step becomes easier to begin than the old escape. That is the quiet truth inside his ordinary day. Comfort wins when it is closer, clearer, and easier than change. So the next part is not about blaming the mind. It is about changing the conditions around the mind, so the action you want has a fair chance to happen. The room around you can make comfort feel almost automatic. A phone on the desk does not look powerful. A soft chair near the bed does not look dangerous. A messy table does not look like a serious problem. But your mind reads these things before you even begin to think. When the phone is beside your hand, the easy choice is already prepared. When the workspace is full of small distractions, starting feels heavier. When the clothes for exercise are still hidden in a drawer, the decision becomes one more thing to solve. Most people try to fix this with more motivation. They tell themselves to be stronger, more focused, more serious. But the environment is still pulling them back into the same pattern. Self-discipline becomes much harder when your room is designed for the old version of your day. Imagine sitting at your desk at night. You want to study, write, plan, or practice something important. But before you begin, you see 5 small things around you. A cup from earlier, a cable in the way, a notification light, a browser tab still open, a snack sitting close enough to reach without standing. None of these things are dramatic, but together they create friction. Friction is not only a physical thing, it is also mental. Every small object that asks for attention takes a little piece of your starting energy. Every visible distraction gives your brain another comfortable exit. This is why you can sit down with good intentions and still lose the first 20 minutes. You're not only fighting your thoughts, you are fighting a space that keeps offering easier options. Comfort becomes stronger when it is convenient. Change becomes stronger when it is prepared. This is a simple idea, but it can change how you look at your daily life. You do not need to win every battle inside your head. Sometimes you need to remove the battle before it begins. If the phone is the first thing you touch in the morning starts with reaction. Your mind does not wake up into your own direction. It wakes up into messages, images, updates, and other people's movement. Then the important things feel strangely distant. Your own plan becomes quieter. Your body is awake, but your attention has already been taken somewhere else. A better design does not need to be extreme. Place the phone across the room. Put a book, notebook, or water bottle near the place where you usually sit. Leave your shoes where you can see them. Put the task you want to start in the most visible position. The goal is not to create a perfect life. The goal is to make the better choice slightly easier to touch. Your brain often chooses what is near, simple, and ready. If comfort is near, simple, and ready, comfort wins. If the first small action is near, simple, and ready, change becomes less intimidating. This is why environment design is not decoration. It is quiet self-leadership. You are arranging your space, so your tired mind does not have to make a heroic decision every time. Think about a person who wants to read more at night. They tell themselves every day that they should read before sleeping. But the phone charges beside the pillow, the book is on a shelf across the room, and the bed has become a place for scrolling. In that room, reading is not the natural choice. Scrolling is. Now, imagine the same person makes one small change. The phone charges outside the bedroom. The book is placed on the pillow before dinner. A small lamp is already on. Nothing magical has happened, but the path has changed. The easier action is no longer the same action. This is how change begins to feel less like a fight. Many people underestimate how much their surroundings train them. A cluttered desk can teach delay. A bed used for every activity can teach restlessness. A kitchen full of quick comfort can teach automatic eating. A phone always in sight can teach constant escape. These are not moral failures. They are learned associations. Your brain connects places with behaviors. If a certain chair is where you always scroll, your body starts expecting scrolling when you sit there. If a certain table is where you always postpone work, sitting there can bring the feeling of resistance before the task even begins. This is why changing the space can sometimes feel more effective than changing your mood. You may not be able to command your mind to feel focused at once, but you can clear one surface. You can close one tab. You can put one object away. You can prepare the first step before your energy drops. A clear space does not create discipline by itself, but it reduces the noise that makes discipline harder. There is also another kind of environment, the digital environment. Your phone is not just a tool. It is a room you enter many times a day. Inside that room, there are doors leading to comfort, comparison, entertainment, shopping, news, and old habits. If every app is one tap away, your brain does not need a strong reason to enter. It only needs a small moment of discomfort. A boring minute becomes enough. A hard sentence becomes enough. A tired feeling becomes enough. Soon, the mind learns that any small, unpleasant feeling can be answered with a quick escape. To change this, you do not need to delete everything. You need to create distance between the feeling and the habit. Move distracting apps away from the first screen. Turn off notifications that do not truly need your attention. Use simple barriers that make you pause for 1 second longer. That 1 second matters. A pause gives your conscious mind a chance to return. Without a pause, comfort often moves faster than intention. The same principle works with good habits. Make the helpful action visible. Make the starting point obvious. Make the first step so small that it does not feel like a full decision. If you want to write, leave the document open. If you want to stretch, leave a mat where you can see it. If you want to study English, keep one short practice sentence on your desk. If you want to go outside, place your jacket and shoes where the path begins. These small changes may look too simple, but self-discipline often breaks down at the doorway, not in the middle of the task. The hardest part is usually starting. Once you begin, the mind often becomes calmer. The task becomes more real. The fear becomes smaller because your body is already moving. So the question is not only, how do I become more disciplined? A better question is, how can I make the first step easier to begin? There is no need to turn your home into a strict training center. A life that feels too controlled can create pressure and resistance. The purpose is not to remove comfort from your life. The purpose is to stop comfort from controlling the first move. Comfort has a place. Rest has a place. Pleasure has a place. But when every space is designed for escape, change has nowhere to stand. Give change a small place to stand. One clean corner of a desk. One prepared notebook. One phone-free hour. One visible reminder of the action you already decided matters. These things are not impressive from the outside. They do not look like a dramatic transformation, but they reduce the number of decisions your mind has to make. And when there are fewer decisions, there is less negotiation. When there is less negotiation, there is more movement. This is the quiet power of design. You are not waiting for a stronger mood. You are building a space where the better action becomes normal. At first, it may feel strange. A phone across the room may feel inconvenient. A clean desk may feel unfamiliar. A simple evening routine may feel too plain. That is expected. Your brain is used to the old signals. It expects the old path. When you change the space, the mind may look for what is missing. But after repetition, the new space starts teaching a new pattern. The desk becomes a place to begin. The bedroom becomes a place to rest. The morning becomes a place to move slowly into your own life, before the outside world enters. This is how comfort loses some of its control, not through force, but through design. You make the old habit a little harder to enter. You make the new action a little easier to start. And day by day, the familiar begins to change. There is a quiet moment before change begins. It is usually not dramatic. It may happen in the morning, before the phone is touched. It may happen at a desk, before the first sentence is written. It may happen beside a pair of shoes, before the door is opened. In that moment, the mind often searches for comfort first. It asks for delay. It asks for one more minute. It asks for a softer option. This does not mean something is wrong with you. It means your brain still believes the familiar path is the safest path. So the final shift is not to hate comfort. The final shift is to teach your brain that a new action can also be safe. Many people try to change by using pressure. They speak to themselves like a strict judge. They say they are lazy, behind, weak, or disappointing. For a short time, shame may create movement, but it usually does not create trust. And without trust, the mind returns to comfort as soon as pressure becomes too heavy. Self-discipline becomes more stable when it feels less like punishment and more like quiet training. You're not forcing your brain into a completely new life overnight. You are showing it through repeated small actions. That discomfort does not always mean danger. A hard beginning can still be safe. A slow start can still be progress. A new routine can feel unfamiliar and still be good for you. This is important because your brain learns from experience more than from promises. You can tell yourself 100 times that change is good, but if every attempt feels harsh, rushed, and exhausting, your brain will keep connecting change with threat. Then comfort will keep looking like protection. To change that connection, begin smaller than your pride wants. Do not start with the version of the habit that impresses you. Start with the version your nervous system can accept. If you want to exercise, begin with putting on your shoes and stepping outside for 5 minutes. If you want to study, begin with 1 page, 1 paragraph, or 1 sentence. If you want to clean, begin with 1 surface. If you want to sleep earlier, begin by moving the phone away before the night becomes difficult. Small actions may feel almost too modest, but they send a clear message to the brain. This is not danger. This is manageable. This can be repeated. That message matters. Change becomes safer when the body survives the first step without panic, shame, or overload. The next day, the same action feels slightly less strange. The next week, it begins to feel more normal. Over time, the unfamiliar stops feeling like a threat. This is how discipline grows without becoming a constant fight. It grows through evidence. Every time you choose the meaningful action before the comfortable escape, you give your brain new evidence. You show it that effort does not destroy you. You show it that boredom passes. You show it that a small, uncomfortable action can lead to a calmer evening, a clearer mind, or a quieter kind of pride. Not loud pride, not the kind that needs attention, just the quiet feeling that you did not abandon yourself at the first sign of resistance. That feeling is powerful because it changes your identity slowly. At first, you may still think of yourself as someone who avoids hard things. Then one small action gives a different signal. Then another. Then another. The mind begins to update its picture of you. You are not becoming a perfect person. You are becoming someone who can begin. That is enough for real change to start. The reason comfort is so strong is that it offers immediate relief. It removes tension quickly. It gives the mind something easy to hold. Change often cannot compete with that speed in the first moment. So do not try to make change feel as instantly pleasant as comfort. Instead, make the first step simple enough that comfort does not need to win. A person who waits for motivation has to restart the same argument every day. A person who lowers the starting point can move before the argument becomes too loud. This is not lowering your standards. It is protecting the doorway. The doorway is the first action. The first action is where many plans die. Once you pass through that doorway, the mind often changes its tone. The task that felt heavy from far away becomes more ordinary. When your hands are already moving, the fear that felt large before starting becomes smaller once the body has evidence. This is why one small chosen action can matter more than a long emotional promise. A promise lives in the future. An action teaches the present. When you choose the new action, try to make it calm. Do not turn every beginning into a battle for your whole life. Do not attach your entire future to one morning, one workout, one study session, or one mistake. That kind of pressure makes the nervous system look for escape. Instead, let the action be simple. Open the notebook. Put the phone away. Stand up. Wash the cup. Write the first line. Walk for 5 minutes. These actions look ordinary, but they interrupt the old loop. They tell the brain, we do not have to escape every uncomfortable feeling. They create a new path through repetition. And repetition is where comfort begins to change sides. At first, comfort is the couch, the phone, the delay, the familiar distraction. Later, comfort may become the clean desk, the quiet morning, the short walk, the finished task, the body at rest because it is no longer carrying so many avoided promises. This is one of the most hopeful parts of discipline. Comfort is not fixed. What feels comfortable today is often only what has been repeated the most. If you repeat escape, escape becomes familiar. If you repeat beginning, beginning becomes familiar. If you repeat small acts of self-respect, self-respect becomes less dramatic and more normal. This does not mean every day will be easy. Some days your body will be tired. Some days your mind will be crowded. Some days the old comfort will feel very convincing. On those days, reduce the size of the action, but do not erase the action completely. This is a practical rule. When your energy is low, make the action smaller. Do not make the promise bigger. A smaller action keeps the identity alive. It keeps the pattern from breaking completely. It tells the brain, even today we can take one step. That one step may not impress anyone. It may not look like success from the outside, but it protects the relationship between you and your own decisions. That relationship is at the center of self-discipline. When you repeatedly tell yourself you will do something and then avoid it, the mind learns not to trust your decisions. Then every new plan feels weaker before it even begins. But when you choose small actions you can actually complete, trust slowly returns. You begin to believe your own words again. This is why the goal is not to make huge promises. The goal is to make clean promises, small enough to keep, clear enough to begin, meaningful enough to matter. A clean promise might be, I will write one paragraph before I check my phone. It might be, I will walk for 10 minutes after dinner. It might be, I will prepare tomorrow's first step before I sleep. It might be, I will start with 5 minutes, even if I do not feel ready. These promises are not impressive because of their size. They are powerful because they can be kept. Kept promises reshape the mind. They make the new behavior feel less foreign. They make discomfort feel less dangerous. They make comfort less controlling because the brain now has another safe place to go. This is the deeper meaning of self-discipline. It is not about becoming cold, strict, or emotionless. It is not about removing rest from your life. It is about choosing what kind of comfort you want to build. There is the comfort of avoidance, which feels good for a moment, but often leaves a quiet heaviness later. And there is the comfort of alignment, which may feel uncomfortable at first, but leaves the mind more settled. You are not choosing between comfort and suffering. You are choosing between short comfort that repeats the same loop and deeper comfort that comes from living closer to your own values. The second kind takes time. It begins with small actions that may feel unimpressive. It begins with letting a new routine feel awkward without calling it failure. It begins with staying with one meaningful step long enough for the brain to learn a new signal. This is safe. This is possible. This is mine now. One morning, the change may feel less strange. You may still feel some resistance, but it will not control the whole day. You may still want the easy option, but you will also know how to begin. You may still enjoy comfort, but you will no longer let it decide everything for you. That is real progress, not a perfect life, not a completely different personality, a quieter mind that knows how to take the first step. So when you notice yourself choosing comfort again, do not rush into shame. Look at the moment clearly. Ask what your brain is trying to protect. Then give it a smaller, safer way to move forward. Put one thing in place. Remove one easy distraction. Begin one small action before the negotiation grows. Let the body learn through experience. Let the mind see evidence. Let comfort slowly move from escape into stability. A life changes this way more often than people think. Not through one dramatic decision, but through many simple moments where you choose the next honest step. The phone stays across the room. The shoes wait near the door. The notebook is open on the desk. And you begin before the old argument has time to take over. That is enough for today. One clear step, one kept promise, one quiet proof that the unfamiliar can become safe.